Hey guys, iOS 13.2 is almost here, with a release date likely within a week to support the new Beats Solo Pro headphones. I wanted to go ahead and cover everything new and significant in this update and why it's actually one of Apple's most important software updates for the iPhone ever. Some seriously awesome changes inside. Now, yes, it's very likely that Apple will be releasing this next week to support the new Beats Solo Pro headphones. As currently Apple notes, these headphones require iOS 13.2 to function normally, otherwise this is the screen you're going to get when setting it up. So just to support those headphones, which are releasing on October 30th, you will need this update. Okay, so with 13.2 on the right and 13.1.3 on the left, let's dive into all of those changes. So first thing is the lag has been removed from the lock screen when opening up the camera. Very annoying before, as you'd have to wait every single time. I don't know why, but there was that delay. One of the biggest changes in iOS 13.2 is the addition of Deep Fusion. So this is where all three camera lenses are taking the perfect picture no matter which one you're using at any given time. And Apple has implemented this subtly under the covers, so there's no actual option for it. You never really know when it's working, it's just always there. The pictures taken with it reveal that when you zoom in on certain details, certain textures, it generally looks better. The lighting is blended much more nicely. I've just noticed I'm able to take a better picture on 13.2 most of the time. So it's a feature you definitely will notice. And finally, with the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, you can actually adjust video resolution in frames per second in the camera application. Just tap on the HD 4K button over here and you can swap between them and between the resolutions, 24, 30, and 60. Same goes for the actual slow motion. Now, for whatever reason, Apple has not added this to older devices, even though they should be fully capable of doing this. I hope they do in the future. Currently reserved for newer iPhones only. Now the Volume HUD has this new slink away animation. I like it a lot, very refined, and it spends less time on your display intruding on your content. Also within the control center, the device you're connected to will now be shown here in the volume platter, a very nice visual change reminding you that yes, you are connected to this device. When not connected to a device, the volume icon here is larger. When you jump into that platter, the icon is now up top and it's not as responsive as before. There's this weird delay, which I don't like. The iPhone icon is now gone. And silent mode no longer has red text on the on portion for whatever reason. Less urgent. And Apple has updated the system sounds for 3D or haptic touch. So wherever that's concerned, you'll hear this new sound here. And the old one. So less shrill, more like the sound when you're typing on the keyboard. And when 3D or haptic touching, I noticed the animation is now sharper when leaving it, so it's not as drawn out, takes less time to return to your content. A very subtle one, but definitely there. And also when 3D or haptic touching an app, Apple has replaced rearrange apps with edit home screen, so an option change, and a new additional option to delete apps. This way you don't have to hold and wait for the app to wiggle. You can delete it on the spot just like that. The folder's quick action icon has a new icon, a little pencil instead of a boxed pencil. The share audio interface is now a moving video of the device you're attempting to connect to. Before it was just a static image. And there's a new pop-up prompt to temporarily share audio with a device that you usually don't connect with, which I think is also a very useful feature. And a seriously cool one is an update to the app switcher animation. It's now faster, more responsive, so closing apps becomes even more efficient as the app cards pop into view and you're able to swipe up on them faster than before. When you only have 3 apps in your dock now on iOS 13.2, there's new spacing, so it's not as wide, more condensed. I think it looks better. And emojis, one of the biggest changes in iOS 13.2, but first, that goofy looking emoji button. I don't know what it is about it, but I like the old one better. This one looks too weird. Also on the right side, when in light mode, the microphone icon is no longer filled in like it used to be, more in line with the emoji icon. And of course, all the new emojis. So Apple has added 59 new emojis, more variations with skin tone and all that. Many accessibility focused ones, only one new face, a yawning face, and a bunch of new props, some animals, very cool stuff. I'm glad that Apple's focusing on that. Always fun to see those. And inside of the emoji picker, when in couples, over here Apple has added a new emoji picker where you can actually change each individual value here. And it's a nice new picker. And announce messages with Siri is now back and functional in 13.2. You do need AirPods 2 to work with this, but in settings, in the notification settings or Siri settings, you'll have this option here or you can go ahead and enable that. So the great thing about it is that she'll read you your messages and you can reply without confirmation. This is a very useful option, time saving, and just less annoying in general without having to say Siri and confirming every single time. And a number of changes in the music application. First off, the shuffle and repeat buttons are more distinct, so it's easier to tell when they're pressed. And now when you scroll up, you'll feel a haptic feedback and you'll jump into the history section. So now Apple has a history section where you can actually look at all the old songs you played, which is very useful instead of having to go back every single time. And now there's a clean new interface when 3D or haptic touching inside of music. You get a much cleaner interface like this, less scrolling involved, just generally more pleasing. And now when selecting shuffle songs, you'll see an actual animation of all the songs being shuffled. So a new visual change. And now when you decide to love a song, there's a new graphic, where before it was this really ugly looking heart. Now it looks more in line with a regular one. And there's this very cool new animation when you actually click into an album or an artist, it'll bounce into that view, which I think is very nice. And now with dark mode enabled, Apple uses a lighter backdrop in the music application, so your controls are easier to discern against the backdrop, especially the seeking and volume controls. After updating to 13.2, you'll be confronted by this screen here, Improve Siri in Dictation, and it gives you the option to opt out of share audio recordings. Also, if you do opt in at any time, you can go into the Siri and search settings to this new option here, Siri and Dictation History, and delete your dictation history. And this will give Apple a request to delete all of your data. And also within the privacy settings, there's a new tab here for research. This is for Research Kit, that application. Also, if you go into Analytics and Improvements, here's the option for Improved Siri and Dictation. I don't know why these are separate, but here you can disable that listen in feature where Apple uses your data, your voice, to actually improve Siri and their HomePod response. In settings, the handoff tab is now AirPlay and handoff, and inside a couple new changes. So first off, an option to automatically AirPlay to TVs, where you can adjust that, and an option to transfer to HomePod. So you can enable or disable that here, and of course your handoff option remains. And in HomeKit, for certain devices like motion sensors, which are grouped usually, you can now ungroup them in 13.2. And when adjusting wallpaper and selecting the perspective zoom button, you'll now get respective text telling you if it's on or off. Easier to tell now. And in Safari, where the show and hide link previews option is applicable, there is no longer an option in the quick action menu sheet. It's now built into the actual preview, where you can show and hide it right there, so a little bit cleaner. Also, when jumping into that preview, there's a new bounce animation, which is very pleasant. And in the Safari toolbar, the options are now segmented off, a little bit cleaner. Also going into Reader View here, Apple has hidden the fonts menu away into a separate menu, which is cleaner, and you're now able to access website settings from within the Reader View. And in all of your photos, when you scroll to the very top, the dates are no longer overlaid directly on the photos, making them easier to read. The TV app receives a similar treatment to Apple Music and now has a cleaner 3D or haptic touch interface instead of taking you to a separate page. And inside of the Apple Watch app, there's a cleaner interface, some bolder text, and the actual displays now show the Apple Watch Series 5. And the CarPlay interface has been further adjusted on 13.2. Now the album art is smaller and you can actually read entire titles without scrolling, which is a very nice visual change. Also, the buttons here have been placed in the middle, so all in all, great changes to CarPlay. And a few changes on the iPad. You can now close out of multiples of the same app in the multi-window display, very much like the app switcher. Great change. And in the settings, a couple differences here. So first off, Apple has split up the wallpaper and home screen and dock settings from the same page to separate ones, I guess making it easier for people to understand that your icons can be shrunk. I don't really like it. It makes things more cluttered here, but cool. And also the Apple Pencil setting has a new icon here, which is a visual change I do like. And a very interesting one is with dark mode enabled, if you take a screenshot, now on 13.2, it's not as bright. So Apple's saving your corneas, so they're not being blinded by that flash of white light at night. Couple changes in shortcuts. Now the app drawer can be swiped downwards, where previously it would just swipe the apps. So that's been fixed. And you can actually share individual shortcuts. So you now have a shortcut action right here. Go ahead and share them with your friends. And iOS 13.2 gave us our first look at the new AirPods Pro design via this leaked glyph found in one of the betas. So it shows that in-ear design, pretty cool. Essentially meaning that to run these natively with all of the features enabled, like the new focus mode coming to AirPods Pro, you will need to be running iOS 13.2. And I'm hoping that that means we'll be seeing these by the end of the year. I mean, if not in October with an event, maybe Apple will just drop them via a press event on their website. Although I could see these being a pretty big deal. and I could see Apple wanting to release them by the holiday season, so let's hope. And here are the Geekbench results. So as you can see, the screen is dimmed in max brightness. That means the iPhone is overheating now on 13.2 beta 4, although in my personal experience on my 11 Pro, have not had an issue in weeks of using 13.2 beta. I don't think you will either on the final. It's been a fantastic experience. All of those small changes adding up, oh, there it goes, popped back in, adding up to be the best software update ever. Deep Fusion and the camera controls have really changed the way my iPhone takes pictures, even though it's already been so good on the 11 Pro. So I'm very happy with what Apple's done. Do yourself a favor and do update as soon as this is out, sometime next week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.